All right, bless up everybody. We are in for another installment of the Reasoning Podcast. And we are definitely on a vibe. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency mining today with a young brother who sets up his own cryptocurrency mining rigs with GPUs. And we're going to get into it and talk about it and just have a real good conversation. It should be a good learning conversation. The brother, I've known the brother for about 2 years, and he had a mechanic shop, and he was working as a mechanic. And the brother also is very skilled in the stock market, so we used to have a lot of robust conversations. And very recently, I got into cryptocurrency mining through using a laptop, and I made a Facebook post about it. And he did me one better and showed me pictures of his GPU mining rigs that he's been doing for the last several months. So I was very impressed with it. Went over to the brother's house to see what he's doing and literally asked him if he would become my teacher. And he said, absolutely. And so we've been having conversations ever since. He's given me parts lists and what have you, showed me a quick rundown on how to do it. And I thought that it would be very apropos to have him on the show and we can have a conversation so that everyone can learn from his initiatives and his genius. So, Brother Kyle, why don't you just introduce yourself, say something about yourself, and let's get into the conversation.
Awesome. Beautiful. Good evening. I appreciate the introduction. How's it going, everybody? Pleasure to be here. I appreciate you inviting me out here. So it's very, very exciting to participate and have a chance to talk to everybody here about what I have going on. So basically myself, Kyle McPherson here out of South Florida. I have a business called Activ Management Research, in which we work hard in researching passive alternative income generating solutions and concepts and ideas that circle around the stock market, cryptocurrency, NFTs. We like to participate in understanding these alternative asset classes and ideas. So cryptocurrency mining, I came across quite some years ago, probably about 2014 or 15, and didn't really put the idea to work until maybe about a year and a half ago. And it's been a journey. It's been a very interesting journey, very different, very foreign kind of participation in an ecosystem that not many people understand or know about. So it's been quite a learning experience, and I love passing this education down to people that want to know about it and want to get involved. And it's very exciting for me to teach new people. Met a lot of new people in this endeavor, and very excited and being able to show other people about how you can participate in this digital economy.
All right, let's just get into some basics. So you state the name of your company again?
Yeah, Activ Management, LLC, Activ
Okay.
Management.
Yeah, and let people know where you're located, South Florida area.
Yeah, Broward County, South Florida area. So right here in the heart of the whole South Florida area of the
And
three
so
counties.
so for people who are outside of America, because I have a lot of international listeners, talk about South Florida area, the biggest area that people would know about, the most popular is Miami. The north of that would be Fort Lauderdale area. And then north of that would be West Palm Beach. And all of that is called South Florida. That's just what people call it. Or other people would just call all South Florida Miami.
Right.
Including Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach. They just call it all Miami.
Definitely.
But in South Florida. But let's just talk about you real quick in your educational background. What's the background that you have? I know that you're self-taught in a lot of these things. So I just want to make it very accessible to people and let people know that you don't have to have a PhD in finance or a PhD in any of these computer science or engineering to be able to make money doing any of these things or even become an expert, at least for your family,
No.
in these types of things. So let's just talk about your background a little bit.
Yeah, well, starting out as a young man, I made my move into the economic world doing mechanics. So I was an auto mechanic for quite a while. Um, I really enjoyed it. Did it for quite a while, maybe 8 to 10 years. I was doing auto mechanics, but I also was involved in doing a lot of airline repair and aviation and things like that. So we're doing aviation parts and things like that. I did that for a few years as well. So I've participated in quite a bit of different mechanical endeavors in my young adult years. So
Where'd you get your training for
yeah.
mechanical endeavors? Or was it like you learned on the job?
No,
So,
I went to Universal Technical Institute back
okay,
in maybe like 2012. And
okay,
so I studied automotive technology then, and
okay.
then did a bit of automotive engineering, and then went to aviation, and then finished aviation, started my own business and continued on. So I've been an entrepreneur since. I've been always creating my access to the economy since then.
Okay. And so you went from mechanics, and I know you're heavy. Let's talk about your involvement in the stock market. Because I know that
Mhm.
I don't know if you still do it, but I know you did very frequent reports on trends in the
Absolutely.
stock market. And just talk about that a little bit, and how did you get your education around the stock market?
Yeah, stocks. Very interesting. Actually started trading foreign exchange many years ago, and I ended up gravitating to stocks. Maybe a few years into that journey, stocks kind of resonate with me in its fundamental parts of how to understand markets. And basically, I do write a letter for my group. I have a community of members that participate with my tips and ideas and my research, and that's how Active Management originally started. It was a mentorship program, and it still is. Um, we gather people together to gather information to create high probability ideas in the markets, and me being the lead strategist of that concept and that business puts me there at that spot. So I do write these articles once or twice a month, and we do hold Zooms, we do these chats, and we organize ideas for all of our investment journeys going forward. And cryptocurrency mining happens to be one of those products that do fall within that group of work.
Okay, cool. How have you found it in terms of becoming an educator around the stock market? Have you found that you're teaching younger people, inexperienced people? How are you really gauging people's excitement for learning about the stock market? And also, by the way I got into the stock market was initially through foreign exchange, through Forex as well. That's when I learned technical analysis,
Gotcha.
right?
Mhm.
So I learned technical analysis, particularly tunnel trading. And the problem with foreign exchange was that it really required a lot of time out of you. You really had to keep your eyes glued to the markets and to the charts. And I just felt that it was very time consuming, and I wasn't really getting a return on investment in terms of time. And then I put it away. But I had learned a lot of the technical training, and learning stochastics and MCADs and all those types of signals in the charts. And it became helpful later on when I got into the stock market to be able to read charts.
Definitely.
And however, I made a transition from becoming a technical person into a fundamental uh, uh, investor, and
Absolutely.
being a long-term investor, because I found short-term investing to be very tedious, a high toll on your emotions,
Yeah,
because
definitely.
it
Mhm.
literally is gambling,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I like the long-term investing approach, which I also advocate for people, where, you look at the fundamentals of a company projected into the future. If you feel like it's going to be a leader in the next 5, 10 years, then that's something that you should hop on and, buy and hold and accumulate. And so that's why I've been approaching stocks and also cryptocurrencies. Of course, you have your wild cards that you think might hit the moon. So you put a little something into it. But, I found understanding investing and being able to read charts and fundamentals of a company and being able to project it into the future to be very rewarding. It's allowed me to retire early. It's allowed me to be able to invest and also donate to causes that I like. And it also provides a lifestyle. And so I wish it for everybody, And
Definitely.
so it's always great when I see another brother who's doing the same thing and has a grasp on the markets. I just wanted to know more about your experiences in teaching people, like what do you find to be some of the most effective ways to get people interested in the stock markets?
Okay. Getting people interested
or
is,
investing in general.
yeah, definitely. Most people come to me when they're in a scenario in which they've made a reasonable amount of money, saved a reasonable amount of money, maybe inherited it, something along those lines, and they've realized that money needs to work for itself. Okay, so until you reach that intersection in your life, you kind of don't really even come across the thought of investing, until you have that surplus capital and you're like, okay, what do I do with this? Because until then, you don't really quite ask that question, right? I noticed that a lot of my students will come from that intersection of where they are in their life, before they ask that question, like, okay, maybe I should be investing in this, or maybe I should be doing something, once they reach that surplus. But then once that goes on beyond then, that's when the confusion begins, and then they have the myths and the misconceptions, and then they end up fearing away from ultimately investing their money. So what I enjoyed doing from the very beginning is doing a bit of a history, allowing people to understand what money has done over time, what assets do over time, differentiate these classes, and allow people to really see, okay, what does the future hold, and what are these assets or tools used with money are to do with this capital, right? And answer these questions, get through the misconceptions, and then people start to open up about using their money in this fashion. And it's really about getting people to understand the tools that are unlocked from participating in the economy in this way. And I've helped a lot of people be able to make reasonable decisions now with their newfound capital, and go on to next ends of their life, like buying their first home, and buying their first rental property, et cetera, et cetera. I've participated in a lot of that with a lot of my mentees, and it's been a very very emotional journey as well, to see people extend to the next point. So it's been very exciting. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy allowing people to understand this new element that majority of people don't participate in, and it's truly super important for entrepreneurs and people alike that really want to expand on their capital in the future, and don't necessarily want to labor intensively for additional income. It was set up like this for us to participate in the economy in this way, and everybody should take advantage of that, definitely.
Absolutely. I am going to ask you another question, because what we see is that here you got somebody who's mechanically inclined, and then a brother who's also an investor. So it actually should have been very predictable for me to know that you would be putting together mining rigs. Right? Because that's a piece right there that I had to sit down and do some calculations. We're gonna 1 second. So, yeah. So when I started looking at the whole cryptocurrency thing, I always took pride in being an early adopter in Bitcoin, right? I remember in 2011 hearing about Bitcoin, maybe even 10, but I heard about it in the sense that there were people who were on Silk Road, right? The dark web, and they were getting all types of things using a thing called Bitcoin. You know, they were getting like illegal drugs, weapons, and all of that. And I thought I would read stories about it, and I thought it was very interesting, you know. And I know people who were buying ganja on
Silk
Silk
Road.
Road, and so they had amassed a lot of Bitcoin. At that time, Bitcoin was like pennies, like literally like 2 cents. So people had amassed a Bitcoin to do their transactions, and then when Silk Road got busted, people were left holding this Bitcoin, you know. And I know then some people then transferred over, like this guy who's a big Bitcoin thought leader. We lost you.
Oh,
We
excuse me.
lost
Yeah.
the light.
Hold on.
Yeah, so there was this cat that I had run across online, and he became a really big Bitcoin thought leader. This guy named Eric Voorhees, right? And I follow him on Twitter to this day. But he's a big guy into Austrian economics. This guy named Eric Voorhees, right? He's a big guy in Austrian economics, and so I ran across his interviews in around probably 2011, 2012, and he had started a thing using Bitcoin that was gambling. It was called like Satoshi Dice. And he had a company around that, and he accumulated a lot of Bitcoin as well. And then Bitcoin started, you know, taking off, man, from cents to dollars and what have you. And so by 2012, Bitcoin was around $200, and that's when I got into Bitcoin. So I started buying Bitcoin as an investment in 2012 because I had read the Satoshi Bitcoin white paper, Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper. And I was like, this is really interesting, even though I didn't understand a lot of it because it had a cryptography type base and cryptography language, but I understood the concept that this was a programmable money, that it was mathematically designed to be deflationary. Because I, you know, coming from Africa, I understand the devaluation of currency, where you can have a currency that's 1-to-1 with the US dollar. 10 years later, it's 1,000-to-1 with the US dollar, right? And so it takes, you know, 1,000 pieces of that currency to buy $1 US when it used to be 1-to-1. And so you basically have devalued that currency to the point where when people are buying foreign goods, they have to work 1,000 times as long at the same paycheck and at the same rate of salary. They have to work 1,000 times as long to get the same thing. And that's when I understood. I didn't quite understand it at that time. My thinking was not as developed as it is now around it, but literally it's time theft. Inflation is time theft, right? Because you have to work longer to buy the same thing. If you get paid by the hour. So it literally is time theft. And so to me, Bitcoin was something that was a big middle finger to the system. And to me, I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of something that was going to at least try to combat the devaluation of currencies, particularly me being someone who was born in what they call a developing country, even though I grew up in the United States. I was able to really see it and see how it really hurts people, man. And so I got on Bitcoin. I got into Bitcoin early, purchased, you know, there were times where it fell. I sold Bitcoin where I shouldn't have because I was not as mature of an investor as I am now, when I should have really just been buying the dip. But then, you know, as I matured in my understanding, man, I realized, damn, I really missed the real thing, which is mining. You know, the money that I was spending on Bitcoin, it would have been better for me, instead of spending $10,000 on Bitcoin, to spend $10,000 on mining back then. Right. And for people to understand, the people who are watching and listening, you know, once you understand the mining, so I did this in the last episode that I did, which was yesterday, but let's talk about mining. You can give your take on mining in terms of explaining it to people. Then I'll give my take on mining, explaining it to people, because I don't want to, there's all different levels of people listening to this program, and I don't want to speak over people's heads. It's not fair, it's not right, and it's not a useful application of time for people to listen to things and they don't understand what we're talking about. So when we talk about mining, cryptocurrency mining, can you talk about your take on the function of mining and why it's important within the cryptocurrency ecosystem? Then I'll, chime in and give my 2 cents on what mining is.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So cryptocurrency mining. All right. So cryptocurrency mining is the process in which a computer facilitates a transaction on the blockchain network. And every time these transactions are facilitated, that miner is rewarded, and it's rewarded with a fraction of that cryptocurrency. So basically, um, uh, uh, humans would typically validate a transaction between two partners and between two partners at a bank, for an example. Okay, so the blockchain network is only communicating between computers, and when these computers communicate and they validate a transaction, the reward is given, and that's all mining truly is at its essence. Okay, it's just your computers participating in validating these transactions, and that's what keeps the blockchain going, and that's what keeps these ledgers of these transactions that are public ledgers. Anybody can look up a public ledger of a transaction between two currencies going from one wallet to another, then on and there forth. And you can see the times, the dates, from which directions, the amount of currency, the fees involved, all this information is public. So in its essence, cryptocurrency mining, right, is just facilitated transactions that are done through a computer.
Okay.
Right? And that's the most simplest form I can put it in.
Right. So let me just piggyback on what Kyle just said. For those who might not watch the episode before, let me try to also explain in a very visual way. And everything that he said is that is what it is. So for people to understand very clearly, traditionally, what will happen is this: is that you're sending value from point A to point B. That would be you using MoneyGram, Western Union, a bank wire, a credit card, what have you. But cryptocurrency is revolutionary because it takes out all of these institutional players that we don't like banks, who charge all of these types of fees, exorbitant fees, and they are the middleman where you have to fill out paperwork, and sometimes they can hold your money. And then the money that they are actually sending is inflationary money, right? Which is fiat. And it becomes inflationary. It becomes inflationary whenever there's a printing press for money, right? You can just basically Xerox money. But the state has the monopoly on printing money. So to get away from all of that and to get away from fiat currency, greedy ass bankers, bankers and states that can seize your money, a new system was created. But for that system to be created and for it to be robust, that it doesn't have a central point of failure, it has to be decentralized. So now I want to send, let's just say, $1 million to Kyle, and I'm in Kigali, Rwanda, and Kyle is in Fort Lauderdale, and I want to send him the money. I have the choice of going to Western Union. I have the choice of going to the banks. And then the banks are going to ask me 1 million questions if I'm trying to send that type of money to Kyle. What do you do for a living? Who are you? Where did you get the money from? Blah, 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 blah. And they might decide they don't want to do it. They might decide they want to seize my money. They might decide that holding my money is something that's better for the state instead of me withdrawing my money. This has happened in Greece where they had bank lockouts, right? So people are getting tired of this. And so the system was created so that I would be able to send Kyle money without anybody getting in between it. And the only way that you could do that is if you have a decentralized network. What does that mean to have a decentralized network? That means that you have to have referees. You have to have referees who, when I send Kyle the money and Kyle gets the money, Kyle can't say to me, even though he got the money, he can't say to me, Heru, I never got it. I don't know what you're talking about. Right? So you have to have an open ledger where everyone can see it. Everyone can see that Heru did send the money. And it's not about me seeing it. It's not about Kyle seeing it. It's about third-party referees seeing it. And those are the miners. The miners are running a computer network that witness the transaction, right? And in Bitcoin, different protocols need a certain number of witnesses for that transaction to be verified. So you might need 12 witnesses. You might need 10 witnesses. Now, these witnesses now can live anywhere in the world as long as they're connected to the internet. You can have a witness in Bangladesh. You can have a witness in London. You can have a witness in Sydney, Australia. You can have a witness in New York. You can have a witness in Accra, Ghana, Lagos, Nigeria, Dakar, Senegal. All of them, as long as they are hooked up to the internet, they have the opportunity to be a witness. Now, the problem is, I might want to send Kyle this money at 2 in the morning. How do I make sure that there are witnesses available at 2 in the morning to be able to see these transactions? You have to trick or give an incentive to these witnesses to stay online. How do you do that? You tell them that there are complicated math processing equations that only computer processors can solve. So these computer processors are solving math equations and at the same time lending themselves to the open, distributed, decentralized network. So the computers now and the people who own the computers are incentivized to keep those damn things on because they're going to be working to solve equations. And at the same time, they will be witnessing transactions. Now, if you're keeping it on to solve equations and I'm being now rewarded with a part or a piece of that cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency is deflationary in nature, which means it becomes more valuable over time, I'm going to want to maybe get now 2 computers to be witnesses, 3 computers to be witnesses, because I'm going to be stacking chips, as we say in the hood, right? So that was the brilliance of the whole system. The brilliance of the system is that people are incentivized to keep their computers running, because the longer you keep your computer running, the more opportunity you are to get rewards for that computer solving equations. But at the same time of that computer running, it is serving another function, kind of like a duplicitous function of being a witness, or let's not say duplicitous, a simultaneous function of not only solving the equation, but by the virtue that it's left open and on, it is also witnessing transactions all times of the day. And that is what mining essentially is. Now, the mistake that I made was, as I go back to it, the mistake I made was I took money and bought the cryptocurrency that is deflationary in nature, which means that it's going to appreciate in value. And the reason why it appreciates in value is because Bitcoin, only 21 Bitcoin could ever be mined over time. So if you have basic laws of economics say that if you have something that's in demand and you make it scarce, over time, it increases in value. Supply-demand curves. This is very basic. Let's just put it this way. You got 10 very beautiful girls in your high school. Well, one of them can't necessarily start flexing on everyone because there's 9 other very attractive girls. But if all those 9 girls leave that school and there's just one girl left, a few months later, that one girl has a lot more value and she can ask for a lot more based on who wants to take her to prom, right? She can make more demands on the guy who wants to take her to prom because she's the most beautiful girl there and there's no other competition. And so she's scarce. And so there's a lot more lobbying for her, right? Her bid price can be higher. Let's put it that way, right? So that's how economics works. Bitcoin becomes more scarce over time. And the reason why fiat doesn't work is because they keep printing more and more and diluting the pool and making more beautiful women. And so now every girl in the school is beautiful. And so now that one girl who was the most beautiful now doesn't have the same power that she used to have. Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So the point of it is that I knew that Bitcoin was deflationary and it would be having overall net gain in terms of its value over time. It eclipsed the US dollar in the first year or two of its existence. And what do I mean by eclipse the US dollar? Well, one Bitcoin was worth more than $1, right? Now it's, $50,000, right? That shows you how much more valuable one Bitcoin is to $1 over time. In the last 10 years, it's gone from 10 cents to $50,000. That means that the dollar has weakened against Bitcoin and Bitcoin has gotten stronger against the dollar. A lot of people don't see things that way when they say $50,000 Bitcoin. It lets you know that the dollar keeps getting weaker and weaker in comparison to Bitcoin over time. So what do? You want to save your money in Bitcoin? You want to save your money in dollars? Even if Bitcoin crashes, so-called crashes to $2,000, it's still more valuable than the US dollar, right? So because $1 cannot buy one Bitcoin. $1 will only buy a fraction of Bitcoin. So that tells you that dollar is weaker, just like $1 buys, 1 million pesos in Venezuela. You know what I mean? That shows you that dollar is much more powerful than that peso. But once the peso overtakes the dollar, then $1 would only be able to buy a fraction of a peso. So this is basic economics for people who are listening and trying to understand these things and never get it explained to them in real simple terms, right? I want to be able to explain things to people in these real simple terms. So all of that to say that the mistake that I made that I've been trying to get to, this is the third time I've been trying to get to the point, the mistake that I made was instead of spending $10,000 on the currency itself, I should have spent $10,000 on the currency printer, which is the miner. I should have bought mining systems for $10,000, which would have made me have so much more Bitcoin and so much more value out of that $10,000. So if you're able to get money to get a miner, it's better to use that money for a miner than it is to actually buy the cryptocurrency, because you'll be able to print cryptocurrency for years. See what the thinking is around that? So then the only gap between not mining and mining is just the education around what it takes to do mining, which has been the gap for a lot of people. And up until just a few weeks ago, I decided to do a deep dive and learn about mining. And so I've been mining for the last couple of weeks at home on my laptops. And I was so excited about it, I made a post on Facebook, and Kyle replies to my post about laptop mining and says, yo, I've been doing something even better now. I've been doing GPU mining. And here's the pictures of what I'm doing. And so here we are today having this conversation. So let's talk about your journey into mining. When did you said that you were always aware of it, but when did you just decide to say, yo, let me build a miner?
Yeah. This was about 9-10 months ago. It was about when I started to get more serious about it. It was about a year ago. I bought a computer and I was like, oh, I'm gonna play some games on it, but I'm also gonna check out this mining thing. And I wanted to understand what I needed to have a computer that was capable of doing it. And and I wasn't very serious about it. And then I bought the computer and I got started. And I was like, oh, let's check this out. Let's see how this computer does doing this operation, doing this duty, so to speak, right? Because the computer does run continuously. So I buy a computer, and I buy a souped up computer. It looks great. I was like, this thing has all the specs I need as far as what I've researched and what I've read online. This would be reasonable to get started with. So I was like, great. Fired up, and I get running, and I had to do the research and understanding how do you even do the process, how does it get started, and what programs. And YouTube, learned a lot from YouTube. YouTube did guide me in a lot of the beginning steps. of understanding how to get started, and it just snowballed from there. Really snowballed from there. You know, cryptocurrency mining is a very passive solution to creating additional income. And basically, when I got started, you know, computer was making maybe $4 a day or so. It was maybe 80 or 60 or $50 a week or so. And that understanding just kept snowballing, and I kept growing and learning and doing new things and building and adding GPUs. And, you know, before I know it, I kind of built up this idea and this momentum behind this concept. And, you know, the late nights spending research on, you know, reading and YouTube and reading about the different mechanical parts of a computer. Remember, I am from mechanics, right? So understanding how a computer would work wasn't super far from what I already understand about, you know, my mechanical ability and working on things. And so it wasn't super foreign for me to have to sit down and figure out how a computer operated. And so one day I took the computer apart, took it apart completely.
Had you ever taken a computer apart before?
Never taken a computer apart before. It was pretty.
So this was your gaming computer.
Yeah, this was the
to
gaming
play video
computer.
games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, you know, I was like, man, I'm gonna take this thing apart and put it back together in one of these mining contraptions. At the time, it was still considered a contraption to me, but it made sense why it was designed the way it was designed. So I took it apart, hoping to put it back together right, and I did. And that developed a lot of momentum. I learned a lot in that time, taking apart that computer and understanding where things go and why they went there. And I spent a lot of that time during the pandemic doing that. I was in lockdown, couldn't really go too many places. A lot of things were closed, and I was really hunkered down on this idea and trying to understand this. And
let me just stop you. Let me just stop
Sure.
you there. Listen to what he's saying, people. A lot of you know what you were doing during the initial phases of the lockdown, when everything was new with lockdowns and people basically were scared as hell. No one wanted to go outside. Everyone stayed inside. There's some people who stayed inside and watched Netflix all day. There's some people who stayed inside and watched video games all day. There's some people who stayed inside and gossiped all day. Those people who took advantage of being inside are the ones who are coming out on top now. Those people who actually used the internet as their university, because as I've said, almost everything that's valuable that I do now, whether it's business development, whether it's health, scientific research that I do, whether it's cryptocurrency, whether it's mining, whether it's any of the businesses and the investments that I'm involved in, I am self-taught. I basically am a proud graduate of YouTube University, of online university, where you don't pay a tuition with money, you pay tuition with time and discipline and repetitive learning. This is the way out, people, is that he's letting you know that during the lockdown, he learned another skill. He's a mechanic. Absolutely. A lot of people weren't driving. A lot of cars weren't, you know, being serviced during that time because people weren't.
Oil went to zero.
Yeah.
Oil went to zero as a commodity.
Yeah, exactly. So here he is, he's a mechanic. He's trapped basically inside his house for the first few weeks when everyone's trying to get a hold of everything and understand everything that's going on. And he decided to leverage that time towards becoming a new person, which is a person now who is literally a top expert in GPU mining. So I'm saying that is, your story is not lost on me, bro. It's not lost on me that you did not squander your time like many people who might be listening might have squandered their time. And you know who you are. You know, a lot of people listening know that you did not leverage your time during the time when everyone in the world halted. You did not learn different skills. You did not become a new person. You did not get in shape. You did not change your diet. You did not get better relationships with your family. You did not learn how to invest. You did not learn, you didn't use it as a learning and a growing opportunity. And so things are what they are. And so part of this show is that for those who are listening, you're always going to get value, because anytime you listen to my podcast, you're going to get information that you normally do not get, because the educational system is not here for us to thrive. It's here for you to become a worker for other people, but it's not for you to thrive. And the only way that you could actually get wealthy is to be making money on your own and learning how to invest it on your own. So that's my 2 cents there, right?
Definitely.
Let's get back into what you're talking about in terms of the cryptocurrency mining and the GPU. So when we talk about GPU mining, let's just break it down, right? Because see, I'm not a big fan of how the world teaches us things. Like, so for instance, during the winter season, that's when you have the most deaths of all causes of illnesses, because they say it's flu season, but it's not really what it is. It's low vitamin D season, because the sun is down. And so they should use the right term, that it is actually low vitamin D season. That would let people know that during the winter season, when the sun isn't out as much and it's cold and people are inside, they should actually be supplementing with vitamin D, because vitamin D is not really a vitamin, it's a hormone that is responsible for your immune system. And if people were just told these things, they would be able to understand these things better. So for instance, the word or the phrase graphics card is not a proper word for this device that we're calling, GPU mining, because I thought it was a card. Like literally, I thought it was a card, like a card, like, like how what a business card looks like. So whenever I heard about graphics card, I thought it was a card. Then when I actually saw it, it looked more like a VHS tape. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean? I like to learn in very simplistic ways, man. And the name should match what people would think it is, right? So can we get into like some visuals here, man? So like people can kind of see what it is that we're talking about.
Yeah, we can. I could go in the back and possibly grab a GPU and bring it up front for you here.
Yes, absolutely. We can press pause in the recording so that there'll be a good segue so people don't have to wait. Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. We got Kyle to a different room where his setup is. So I was talking about these graphics cards, these things they're calling graphic cards, which is central to GPU mining. So can you show everyone what a graphic card looks like?
All right. This is a graphics card.
Right. You see what I'm saying? To the people watching and listening, it's not a card, right? It looks like, I said, it looks like a VHS tape with some fans on it. And so can you just kind of point to people, what it is and what it does and its functionality?
All righty. So a GPU, or a graphics processing unit, right, is what computers use to render graphics. Okay. So basically these units, typically in your smaller computers, some of them may have these additional high output graphics card units used for gaming mostly, graphics editing, video editing. Typically those kind of pre-built computers would typically come with one of these small units capable of rendering graphics to your TV. So if you're watching TV and maybe 1440 or 1080 or 720, you will be using a graphics card to project clear, consistent graphics at a certain frame rate, and those are typically responded in frames per second, right? A graphics processing unit that's capable of doing this exceptionally well is typically used in the same hardware as for cryptocurrency mining. Right?
But before we even get to the cryptocurrency mining, let's just talk about who really wants those at a high performing level. It would be people who are into video games, because video games is video processing. particularly when you have in these photorealistic video games that require a lot of power to be able to render the images and moving images and all that. You need some of the more stronger GPUs. The other types of people who would want a computer with a stronger GPU than an average person is someone who's involved in film editing, right? Because they need to be able to render these high quality images in a very efficient way. So those are the types of people who would want to have a gaming computer to use it for video games, or they want to also use it for video editing. Video takes a lot. And the way that you understand that is, remember the days of the internet that you used to try to play movies and you had to wait for the movies to buffer, right? Because the computers that you had did not have the graphics processing power necessary to be able to have these images run and flow smoothly. So you would have a GPU. So those people who are doing video on a very high level or using video at a very high level, they need a GPU, not to be confused with a CPU. So can you talk about a CPU, which is also a part of a computer?
Yeah, the processing unit, the main computer processing unit, CPU, is used for all of the other high megahertz, high frequency computing that are typically used in computer hardware. So CPUs are the core essence of a computer, is the CPU, and its responsibility is basically almost everything that the computer will be doing in an overall standpoint.
Right.
So CPU is very important.
Right. And then, so the way you want to look at a CPU is, a CPU is a multi-running jack of all trades, where a GPU is really running for video graphics processing.
Very specific.
Yes. And so why that's important is that now when you have to solve complex mathematical equations to become a miner, you're going to use the GPU that's going to give you more efficiency and more output than the CPU, because the GPU has higher processing rate than a CPU that is more concentrated towards solving those problems. So you're going to have a GPU that when it's solving the problem of visual editing, visual movements, video, and all of that, it's actually solving problems when it's doing that. That's why it's processing at such a high level. So that became also something that could be used for mining. So then the people who were mining said, hey, if we're doing these complex mathematical problems and it takes a high processing computer, we know the aspect or the piece of that computer that's going to be handling that, and that would be the GPUs. You can still do CPU mining, but it will be not nearly as efficient as GPU mining. So now we saw what a GPU looks like, a graphic card look like, which is not a card in itself. It looks more like a graphic VHS tape. So you see what it looks like.
They are pretty big.
Yeah, you see what it looks like. Hold it up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just talk about the different parts of that GPU, like what you're touching right now?
Sure, absolutely. Alrighty, so the fans here they're typically used for cooling the computing processing chips that are just beneath these heat fins here. There are a layer of capacitors and chips and processing units that make up this entire piece. And the reason why it looks fairly bigger and bulkier is because of its heat and cooling dissipation fans create this level of thickness in between the fan. But below this is a core processing chip capacitor setup, like most chipsets are produced. And this additional cooling ability allows these things to run warm and maintain a consistent temperature, even when they are used excessively or for long periods of time.
Right. What he means by run warm is run cooler than hot.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Because what you don't want is, you don't want it to be so hot that it actually catches fire or it burns out on you. So what you want is, you want those fans to constantly be running to cool the system, because anything that requires high processing requires high electricity, which then causes heat. So,
exactly.
so that is the GPU. He explained very well the different pieces of the GPU and what a GPU is like. And so let's talk about different GPUs and which type of GPUs are in the most demand these days.
Yeah. Semiconductors are in very high demand, and there are a few semiconductor brands out there, and the two top right now are NVIDIA and AMD. So specifically, these GPUs that are going to be in the highest demand are probably going to be the newer style GPUs that are 8 gigabytes and above. And a lot of these GPUs do have the same functionalities, as they provide these video outlets here from HDMI, VGA. There are many different outlets on the back of these GPUs, but they're all built to do the same piece. And over time, they're just getting better and better and better. The similar growth as what happened with television and TVs. So every 6 months, they come out with a new product that can render graphics better and faster than the previous. And this continued family of growth ultimately creates a competitive market for many semiconductor companies to get a piece of this market. So the highest, the most competitive of these products are typically made directly from NVIDIA themselves. Probably one of the most highest performing stocks of this year, as well as these graphics cards are used in many applications, from electric cars to aviation components to computer components. They're using these processing chips everywhere today, and is making the semiconductor market extremely difficult to get your hands on some of these products. Now, this semiconductor shortage basically started earlier this year during the supply constraints that happened throughout the year. It's been very difficult to get these GPUs, but we were able to source them through various vendors and such, and get our hands on some of the best products to use in our GPU mining needs. So 8 gigabyte, 12 gigabyte, 24 gigabyte graphics cards are all way over MSRP today. I'm talking
MSRP,
double, triple,
manufacturer suggested retail
price, exactly, way above MSRP, 3 or 4 times some of them, and they kind of created a bit of a black market now in obtaining them. It's been a little tricky, but they are available, they are out there, and NVIDIA still comes out with a new batch of cards almost every 6 months. And so that has been the wild west lately in the semiconductor world. But all the other computer parts are still readily available. It's just GPUs that have been a little tricky lately.
Let me ask you a question, right? So let's
sure.
This is just we're just going to digress for a second. We're going to go from the mining hat to the stock market investment hat.
Definitely.
And I'm going to ask you your opinion, because as I've gotten into mining, I am seeing that the NVIDIA brand is killing it when it comes to these GPUs, even though AMD has GPUs. And I invested in NVIDIA years ago. I ended up selling my NVIDIA stock stupidly, but I used it to start a construction company in Africa. I shouldn't have sold it. I should have gotten a loan against my stock, but that's another story. And then I also I picked up AMD later. Now, AMD has had great growth in the last 5 years. It actually has had greater growth than NVIDIA in the last 5 years in terms of percentage gain. But NVIDIA this year has outpaced AMD's growth by a factor of 2, right? Like it's 2 times more growth, maybe even 3. I'd have to look at the charts, the 1-year charts, but I noticed that NVIDIA is over 100% growth this year, whereas I think AMD is like 60% or whatever. I don't want to misspeak here. Let me just give people the real data. But in the meantime, the question I'm asking you is that it looks like NVIDIA's growth in its numbers is really due to a lot of these graphic cards, because they're in great demand, right? More than the AMD cards. But my question to you as an investor, as NVIDIA and AMD are the leaders in the market, what do you see that might happen with the graphic cards market and then the stock price of AMD and NVIDIA, if Ethereum, which a lot of people use to mine, moves to proof of stake, which would no longer need graphic cards to mine Ethereum?
Yeah, that's very interesting a point there. Now, I am not. I'm optimistic about Ethereum 2.0 and the proof of stake movement, but I do believe that it's still a bit of a premature move for that software, and I do think that there's going to be another delay. But to start off, yes, massive demand for semiconductors, especially NVIDIA. AMD's chips are getting better. Remember, NVIDIA has been in the semiconductor field longer and has more experience and have been putting out these products more consistently than AMD. But the big turn for AMD was this year, or basically last year, for Lisa Su. She acquired Exlinix, and they've really stepped up their semiconductor game, and then they were able to actually compete better than Intel in their CPUs, and that was what stopped everything. Everybody dropped everything, was like all eyes on AMD and NVIDIA as this unravels. And then the sharp uptick in cryptocurrency mining really put a spin on things, and that's how the stocks really started to take advantage of that. Now, to go back to ETH 2.0 and proof of stake, now there will be alternative coins. There will be alternative objectives as far as cryptocurrency mining that will still continue to unravel, that will never change. Mm-hmm. And will continue to profit from the most profitable coin available. Will ETH go 2.0 eventually? Yes, and there will be no cryptocurrency mining for the Ethereum network.
Right, but you just feel like some other coin will replace it.
Some other coin will definitely replace it.
Proof of work.
Absolutely.
In terms of, and so why is it that, so for people who are asking, Bitcoin is also proof of work, and proof of work is that that's a coin that requires mining, as opposed to proof of stake. It's a coin that requires consensus. So that's a whole different type of thing. But they're rewarded also for keeping their computers online, but it's just in different ways. Whereas proof of work requires electricity and processing power, proof of stake requires certain representative amount of coins to be able to witness these transactions and get also a representative amount of rewards back. And that doesn't require a lot of electricity. But proof of work requires electricity and mining with some type of mining hardware, whether it be an ASIC or whether it be an ASIC is just an application specific integrated circuit, which is just to mine the cryptocurrency, whereas a GPU is a graphics card that can be used for graphics processing or cryptocurrency mining. So those are the distinctions, and the higher level is the ASICs mining. Requires a lot more electricity, but you get higher rewards. And then the GPU is right in the middle between, you know, mining on your laptop or mining in an ASIC, mining with an ASIC. So what you explain is very interesting. And so between AMD, you're seeing that AMD is making some innovations. So you think that AMD, from what you know, do you think AMD will catch up with NVIDIA in terms of the demand for their GPUs? Or you think NVIDIA is just the leader, like kind of like Tesla is the leader for EVs, and it's just going to stay that way?
Exactly. I do believe that NVIDIA is going to lead this one, most certainly, but AMD is really going to play a really strong underdog in showing its ability in that it is capable of competing against NVIDIA. Lisa Su is very bright, and she's done a stellar job bringing AMD to where it is today. It's truly remarkable to see the kind of performance that she's had with this business over the last 4 years. And I think AMD is still massively undervalued at $140 today, guys. is massively undervalued. This is a north $300 stock, easy, trailing behind Nvidia, as it's already a $300 stock, on its way to a $1 trillion market cap. So AMD shortly right behind it will follow, right? As these two are the only two in this realm competing for the US market at this pace. So definitely we will see AMD at a much higher price later in 2021, and Nvidia topping the $1 trillion market cap for sure.
Okay, definitely. So let me ask my question another way. What's a better investment in 2022? If you got $10,000 and you can only put it into one stock, Nvidia or AMD, which one are you gonna put it in?
For the most growth, definitely AMD.
Interesting.
For the most growth, it would definitely be AMD. It would definitely be the underdog, absolutely. And with the new acquisition of Exlinix, I did a report on that last year. I think they'll be able to step up their productivity to get these sort of products out to their clients at a much higher pace, and possibly maybe even keep up with the demand. You know, the demand for these chips is almost unlimited right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. And, I mean, I've seen these GPUs that like maybe 6 months ago was like $350. Now like $1,200, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like that's crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, these GPUs we were buying over the summer for $400. These same 2070s today are worth $850, $800. They're well over double now, and I think they're overpriced a little bit compared to where I think the technology will end up in 2 years. But that's the market, and you know the market will make itself. And you know, so yeah, a lot of the GPUs that I've purchased are probably worth quite a bit more now than what they were worth, you know, six or 7 months ago.
Okay.
So
let's this is a perfect segue. You just showed a fully built GPU mining rig.
Yeah.
Let's look at it. And so for the people watching, this is what Kyle does. He builds these mining rigs for people and sells it to them. So it's a fully put together mining rig, and it's just plug and play. It's shipped to you, you pay for it, shipped to you, and you can start mining at your house. And you know, I was told all types of things about GPU mining rigs that they run, that they're very hot, they create a lot of heat, they create a lot of noise. I went to his house to look at it, and it wasn't noisy to me, and it didn't create a lot of heat to me. And I'm like, man, people just be talking, yo. People just be talking. People just be coming up with all types of things, and it's important for you to see things yourself to actually understand what the truth is. And that's what I'm doing with the podcast. I just try to keep it real, man, and just don't repeat what other people say. You have to have real life experience in these things to be able to talk about it in an intelligent way. So let's look at the mining rigs that you have, and just feel free to talk about it, man. If you can put the camera lower a little bit.
A little bit lower.
Yeah, just a little bit lower. Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Bring it a little bit closer as well.
Yeah.
I'll hold this in my hand.
There we go.
All right, so this is how the mini farm here in my living room is looking right now. This is about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards, maybe 9, 10 cards in here. And I think you can hear them pretty well. They don't really make much noise, but it sounds louder with the mic, of course. But they're here running. They run 24/7 just like this. They're miners. No, it's a great journey. It's a great endeavor. These things are great. Okay, so let's talk a bit about these ones. Right? This computer is typically what most clients get in the entry-level package that we deliver. 2 GPUs.
Let me just stop you right there. See,
Sure.
He said this computer. For the average person, they'd be like, "That's a computer." That's actually when you get a desktop computer. That's what's running inside of it. It's encased so you can't see it. but he literally, to build a mining rig is literally to build a computer. So he has, it's a computer, but the way that it's set up is that because it's multiple GPUs that you have, it's basically computers without the casing. So you're building these things from the different pieces to be able to do the mining, but it literally is the inside of a computer. And just to give you some idea, Dell computer, this is how Michael Dell started as a university student. He got different pieces of all the computer components together, put them together, get the casing for it, and he sold it to his friends. And they preferred those computers because it was cheaper than buying them, you know, from the stores at the retail price. And so what Kyle is basically showing you, he's showing you the guts of a computer that is just refashioned to do cryptocurrency mining.
Definitely.
So that's I wanted to be clear on that, because people don't really realize that that's a computer.
A computer.
Because when I came to your house and I saw that you were online and you had a screen and you were on the internet, I'm like, well, where's your computer at? Where's your laptop? Where's the desktop computer? And you're like, oh, I'm doing it through the mining rig, which is the computer. And I was like, oh, you see, because I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know what it was. So that's why I'm able to really talk about it from a complete naked understanding, that a person who walks into your apartment and looks at that is not going to know that that's a computer unless they've ever put a computer together. So let's talk about the different pieces of this puzzle here that form this computer.
Yep, definitely. Alrighty.
Or this mining rig.
Mining rig, definitely. And a mining rig is a computer.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. It's a computer. It's just duty specific is what I describe it as. Duty specific into just performing as your worker. It's your personal worker. So these workers are at work right now. And
what cryptocurrency are they mining right now?
They're all mining Ethereum.
Yeah.
They're all mining Ethereum. I'm going to be mining Ethereum until the end of Ethereum mining, if that's were to be the case.
Right.
Yeah, they're all mining Ethereum, and all of the units hosted on top of each computer frame are its GPUs. Like I mentioned, there's about 10 here, and each computer has its own motherboard, its own power supply, and its own connectivity to the internet. So
and how many GPUs theoretically could one of the mining units, i.e. motherboard computers, have?
Yeah, each computer, theoretically, each computer can run about 8 GPUs on one motherboard, but on one frame, they typically run 4. Okay. So there are these frames, there are bigger frames, 10 and 12 frames, there's 14 frames that can fit more GPUs, but as they sell in my kit, they come with 4 GPU frames. So they come with 2, but you're capable of adding 2 more on the same frame. And you have a setup that would have 4, like this one in the back, or this one has 3, and this one has 2, so that you can kind of see how they look. But all their functionality is the same. They typically don't do anything else but mine, but you can, this one is currently plugged into the main screen computer. And this is what I describe as the matrix of the mining rig. So it basically just has details on what the computer is doing and what has it been doing over the last day, 2 days.
It's basically it's a program that's running that you able to look at, right? What program is that?
This program specifically is called T-Rex Miner. And you know, it's a program. You download the program. It's a program, and it just runs. And the computers are computers. They do everything they're supposed to do on their own. There's not much interaction that you will be doing as the owner of one of these computers. Once the program is running and it's doing its job, that's what it does. Not too much interruption as far as that point. Majority of getting the expectation that you're looking for is going to be in the computer hardware and how the computer is built, and making sure that it's built, you know, with the capable specs and details of doing cryptocurrency mining consistently. A lot of these rigs here have been running for weeks on end already. One of them is for a client. So this one actually ships tomorrow. And I have another one in the back that will be replacing it for another client. These computers are, this computer is under testing, but these rigs are home rigs. I actually have some more, and we're working on some in the back now. I do have another rig here for another one. So we are busy with these. Some of the more components on some of these, they all have power supplies, 750 watts or better. They are running off of surge protectors, and they do run consistently. They do run very consistently here in the living room. I enjoy them here, and they have a bit of their own aesthetics as far as how they look. So when people do come in the house, they do ask about them. What might this be, or what does this do? And it's very interesting. It's very interesting.
Let's talk about, the human eye looks at it, and the first thing you're gonna see is the colors there, the red light and the blue light. What's that going on? The thing that's, turning in circular motion. What's going on there? It looks like it's a disco going on. What's going on?
Right. Some of these computers will come with little lighting things that might be on the motherboard or on the computer themselves, but it's just done to make it look as pleasing to the eye. But none of the lights actually serve a purpose besides aesthetics. Yeah.
Right. So what's the thing that's turning right now, though?
Right here, this is the CPU fan.
Okay.
So that's the fan that cools the CPU.
Right.
And then it has a little bit of lighting to make it look pleasing.
Right. So the GPUs have a fan and the CPUs have a fan.
And the CPUs have a fan.
Right.
And the power supply as well has a fan.
Right. So let's talk about what's inside of the mining rig, the different, like the different parts that would build this computer. You don't have to talk about like the many parts, but the bigger functional parts that you would need that are necessary to have a mining rig. So for instance, just to get it out the way, the frame itself is something that you buy separate to be able to put together a mining rig. So what people see in there, that black frame is literally, it's called a frame. So what is inside of the frame? You just said it's a CPU that's inside of it, a power supply. What else?
Yeah, there's a motherboard inside the frame. There's a CPU, a motherboard, a M.2 standalone memory, RAM memory for the motherboard. Everything that would exist in a computer is in this frame. And the power supply here. They're all essential. The essential computer components still exist in a mining rig than any other computer, essentially. Right,
and so then the real puzzle work is figuring out how to connect the different pieces to the motherboard and where they connect.
Well, mainly just getting hardware components that actually do the job in a profitable manner. There are a lot of components that don't do the job profitably, and that's most important about building a mining rig.
Okay, so give us an example.
Sure. Like for instance, there are smaller GPUs that are maybe 2 gigabytes or 4 gigabyte GPUs. They're non-profitable, as in they maybe make 25 cents a day or 10 cents a day. It's just not up to your expectations. And those are the kind of products you want to avoid. Maybe you buy a power supply that's not adequate enough to feed enough power to the GPUs. Or maybe you get a motherboard that doesn't have enough PCIe slots to have communication to the GPUs. So there's a lot of wrongs you can still do in building a mining specific computer that, of course, with me, you wouldn't have any of those issues to worry about.
Right, because you take care of all of that.
Yeah, I take care of all that, exactly. Or not having enough memory for this kind of motherboard to run this kind of intensity.
Compatibility
things like that. Yeah, exactly. Mostly would be compatibility.
Okay.
Can we do a quick pause? I'm gonna grab the charger. Quick pause.
Yep, absolutely. We can do a quick pause and get right back into it. Okay, we're back. The next thing I want to get into, you were talking about the pieces, and there's not just putting it together, knowing what to plug into what in terms of the motherboard connected to this or connected to that. You have to size it correctly to make sure that it's compatible to be able to run smoothly based on different specs and different capacities of the different pieces of the puzzle. And you say basically you take care of all of that. So when someone comes to you, they're able to just buy the whole rig one time and they start mining. So let's talk about numbers. I don't like to do too many shows where we ignore math and we ignore numbers because math runs the world. And so I don't like to just have a talking show where we're just, as we in Africa, we say practice in English. I like for us to practice math because numbers run the world. So let's talk about the business case for mining generally, and then the business case for someone purchasing that for you in terms of return on investment, future profit, and what have you. So I'll let you just run with it. Just talk about the business case for mining in general, using like real world examples with the current price that it is now, with the expectations that it's going to get higher over time because it is something that's in great demand, and we've seen Ethereum and Bitcoin and these things, you know, rise in price over time. Even if there's a so-called crash, it always gets back up higher than it was before. So I'm just going to let you just go now, and let's just talk about the math, the numbers, the ROI, the business case for mining.
Definitely. Alrighty. So most specific that I enjoy a lot about mining is
what you can do is you can take the camera up to your face now.
Yeah. Certainly.
Yeah.
What I enjoy most about mining is how simple their cost of doing business can be, right? And specifically, the number one thing in cryptocurrency mining is and for any business is what is that cost of doing business, right? Who are you interacting with for that cost of doing business? And for cryptocurrency mining, it's going to be electricity, right? And this is going to be your cost of doing business, right? And so most importantly, we do know how we take care of the electric bill with FP&L, and that is your main cost of doing business. You're dealing with one entity, right? Not a plethora or not multiple people. You're dealing with one entity, and that's your electric company, right?
Right. So, FP&L, for those who don't know, that's Florida Power and Light for people who live in Florida.
Definitely. So this is your main cost of doing business and your only cost of doing business.
Well, besides the hardware, besides
internet, and your hardware.
Yeah.
But the reoccurring cost, or that biggest cost of doing business for cryptocurrency mining will be the electric bill. And I think that's an important element to understand, is that there's not a lot of different elements attached to that. And it's very important to understand the simplistic nature of participating in this ecosystem. So outside of that, though, there are many other elements that are due to understand about the profitability of cryptocurrency mining. And that would be the rate of computing speed that these rigs put out. And it will be the value of that cryptocurrency asset that it's accumulating as well. Okay, so typically, as you buy a rig from me, that cost wager usually ends up in the $2,300 to $2,500 price range, in which majority of these rigs put out a output of about, in dollar terms, very specific, that I clarify in dollar terms because it will be different in Ether. But in dollar terms,
on the present
price, exactly. Yeah. That these dollar terms would be about $225 to $250 per month. Right now, it could be a little less, more like 200 even, 210. But that's the cost per monthly these starting rigs start out with. And as they grow on and grow, each GPU on average is about $100 a month. They generate about $3.50 per day, right? And they use
each GPU,
correct? and they use about 100 watts a piece. Okay, and so with that being said, in total here you have about a little over 1,000 watts, right? And
That's 1 kilowatt.
yeah, that's 1 kilowatt, and we're currently paying, I think, 10 cents per kilowatt hour.
Right.
Here
So
in the
1
state of Florida.
kilowatt times 24, because
Mhm.
there's you said they basically using they're using how many?
24.
1 kilowatts in 24
Mhm.
hours. So in one
Yeah.
day it's 24 kilowatt hours
Mhm.
times 10 cents. So that's $2.40
Mhm.
a
Mhm.
day.
Exactly.
And so that's what the math would be. $2.40 a day times 30, which would be for the month, would be
Mhm.
around $62.
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly.
About $63 a month in electricity bills against an income. How much would you say is the income of all of those miners put together?
All right now, it's doing about $900 a month, 875 to almost $900 a month.
Okay, so $900 a month minus how much did we say that the electricity cost would be for the month? I forgot what we said. $2.40
it
times
comes out.
30.
I think we did $62.
63, yeah,
Yeah,
62,
exactly.
63. So
And it comes
900,
out in mine.
yeah,
On
900
paper.
minus 63. So you're talking
Yeah,
about
exactly.
$840 a month in
Yeah.
residual income.
Mhm.
Now, I spoke with Kyle about it, and in many of these places in the United States, actually in all of them, they also have time of use. So you can be billed differently in your electricity bill. You can be billed a standard rate or time of use rate. Standard rate usually is around 10 cents per kilowatt hour, and you'll be billed that across the board. Whereas if you call the electricity company at time of use, they bill you at maybe 18 cents a kilowatt hour to be using it electricity during the peak hours, which during in Florida during the summer, it is from noon to 9 p.m. And during the winters, it's from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in terms of billing you at a high rate. But then when you're off peak hours, it's about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. So you can start doing the math. I changed my electricity bill to time of use, and I pay probably 40% less for electricity now just by making that
Wow.
change to time of use. So that's something for people to keep in mind, where you can actually lower your electricity bill when you're mining by changing to time of use. So and if you wanted, you could shut down your mining during the very expensive hours, the peak hours, but you would just do a cost benefit analysis to see if that makes sense. But on average, you'd be paying a cheaper price than you'd be paying if you just had a standard 10 cents per kilowatt hour. So what people need to understand is to be able to do the math. But what you're saying, essentially, when you have a miner like that, you're doing about $900 a month. Now, in terms of the equipment, let's just talk about your price. You're saying that, let's just take the miner there that has 4 units.
Yeah. Okay.
4
This back one
GPUs
here.
on it.
Yeah.
Okay. If I'm a customer of yours, I say, look, I don't want to learn about putting anything together. I don't want to learn about the difference between CPU and GPU. I just want to get that bread. I just want to start mining, right? And you're going to be happy to hear from me because that's right up your alley, right? You say, I got you, bro. I got you, right? I'll put it together for you, and you pay me. So what is what is your going rate? What is your retail, your MSRP?
MSRP
for
right?
for one of your 4-piece mining rigs, 4 GPU mining rigs.
For a full computer, I would describe it as a full computer,
Okay.
as in a computer that fits 4 GPUs on a 4 GPU frame. So it would be considered a full frame. These full frame GPU computers, I would say price wise, $4,750 to $5,500. You can get a full 4 rig computer capable of this 4 GPU rig by itself does about 600 550, 600 by itself.
Okay.
With these all on the same stream together will produce just under $1,000 a month. But
Okay,
this
so
one
let's,
just by itself will be
okay.
about 4750, and it will make about five and change, almost $600 a month.
Right. So what we're looking at, people, is that the way Kyle has said it is 9 to 10 month return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Keep it running. If the Ethereum price stays where it's at, if it goes up, you have a quicker payback period. If it goes down
massively,
if it goes down, you really can't say that you're going to have a longer payback period because it doesn't really stay down. It has an upward trend. So you're just going to be stacking up chips during that time. And then 2 years from now, your chips may be worth double what they're worth today. Or in a few months. I mean, basically you're stacking up chips. You're basically stacking up gold before gold becomes the reserve store of value or store of wealth. You're just stacking it all up. So
you just continue to accumulate.
Just accumulate. That's the beauty to mining. So basically, Kyle is letting you know there is a 10-month return on investment. Now, those of you who are involved in business, when it comes to real estate, the return on investment for real estate when you get a good real estate deal is 10 years. No, seriously.
It definitely is. Yes. Yeah, 10 years. Yep.
That's when they look at cap rates.
Yeah.
They look cap rates for like 10 years. So that is a really good return on investment, 10 months. And then you are basically literally printing money.
Definitely.
And this is the thing about mining. You're printing money.
Literally. Yeah, they actually wrote an article about that. They're like, oh, they're asking the Fed, oh, how do you feel about cryptocurrency miners actually printing money? And that's true. Yeah, it's definitely printing money. It's definitely printing the digital currency. And it's interesting that you made that point, because I actually have a close friend that is in the ATM business. And before I got into the idea, I was trying to understand, dealing with the low dollar rate at the very beginning, making a few dollars per day at most, trying to understand, trying to expand my mind and open up what the potential of that would be in the ATM business. They make $1 to $1.60 to $3 per transaction in an ATM. So you would need a considerable amount of people to go into that store and interact with that ATM to make money, right? And cryptocurrency mining has its similarities, as in it's a low start kind of business. It starts slow until you build the momentum into it. And I really got a really good experience of that doing this business, as I did start out from the very beginning. I was making $3.50 per day on one GPU, on one computer. And I'm like, oh man, if I could 4x this or 5x this, then I have something in my hands, right? And then I have something going on. And then I was able to do exactly that. And here, this is about 9x today. And now I'm like, okay, you can actually take care of something with this income reasonably. Like if it's a big car note, or if it's rent, just the value of it just kind of shows you, okay, now I'm actually making enough money that this could affect your life. Right. And that's ultimately where you want to build a passive source of income into, something that can have an effect on your life. And for me personally, I just hoard the coin. I personally just hoard the coin. I just hoard the coin. But just knowing that I'm creating that sort of value was very important. And it was very important step by step to get there. It was a very important thing. So let me give the listeners a play. Sure.
Here's what you do, listeners. Kyle just told you he's going to put together a 4 GPU mining rig, and how much is it?
About 4750.
4750. Give it to you for 4750. Maybe if you say that you saw this on this show, he might give you a little discount.
Right.
Small little discount for seeing it on the show. But guess what, people? Do you accept credit card?
Yes, I do.
Okay. This is what I'm gonna tell you all, because this is what one of my favorite miners, Voscoin, on shout out to Voscoin on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah.
How he started his mining is he went ahead and got 0% interest credit cards where you don't have to pay any interest for 18 months. They're out there. He got several of them. He bought mining units with it. That's how he started mining.
Yeah.
So if Kyle is telling you this, I'm giving you all a play. Don't say don't say Heru never showed y'all love. You get these credit cards where you don't have to pay interest for 18 months. You make your minimum payment of $25 because that's what they ask on the credit card every month. Well, you buy one of Kyle's mining units for $47.50. Maybe you even buy two for $47.50. Maybe he gives you a discount. We get them for $9,000. Get two for $9,000. The payback period is 10 months.
10 months.
That means that you're able to pay off that credit card way before the 18 months is up. So basically, you've gotten a mining unit for free.
Yeah.
You've gotten it for free with someone else's money that you pay back with the
someone else's
revenues. Yes, with the revenues of mining. You've just now put yourself in a situation where one mining unit is making you $500 a month, two will make you $1,000 a month. You contact Kyle, you've got $1,000 per month revenue just by plugging something into your wall. It's actually more than $1,000 a month revenue. It's $1,000 a month profit. We factored in the cost for electricity. So it's $1,000 a month profit, and you use credit cards to go ahead and do it. Like, I'm gonna tell you right now, Kyle, that's actually what I'm gonna do. Just not out of just like love, but like the fact that you're doing it as a brother doing it, and I haven't learned how to do it yet, and I don't want to necessarily wait because I'm trying to find good sources for GPUs. I know that you've got a nose for this type of thing. It makes sense for me to get, you know, some of these credit cards because I'm going to El Salvador very soon. When I get back, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to get a few of these pre-built mining rigs from you with my credit card. I'm going to apply for credit card with no interest for 18 months. I'm going to get them, and I'm going to get a couple of these units from you, bro. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep them in my office while I'm doing these shows, and I'm mining.
And yeah, definitely.
And in 10 months, it's paid off, and I'm making $1,000 a month off of somebody else's money, which is the credit cards. And guess what? Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat.
Yeah, it's rinse and repeat time. So I don't want to be too greedy and take up all your inventory. You don't care either way because you're just trying to sell it.
Yeah.
You don't care either way, but you know, I just think that it's important, and it looks pretty cool to have some mining rigs in your house.
Definitely.
Right? So because I don't have the experience yet to build my own mining rigs, which I will, it's important for me to at least have them running in my house just so people in my house, family members can actually look at it. Children can look at it and be like, what's that? I can be able to teach them what I know. And at the same time, I'm going over your house and learning how to build a mining rig. And of course, you're going to let me and you're going to teach me because I'm going to be one of your best customers. Right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying is that this is a way to leverage. I just showed y'all a play. This is a way to leverage the economic system in your benefit. Use these credit cards that have 0% interest. Go ahead, get a pre-built mining system together. and plug and play. Kyle is going to be somebody who's going to walk you through it. He's going to give you his contact information, any questions you have. But this is a way that you can really invest in Kyle and the knowledge that the time that he took out to learn, and also invest in yourself, right? It's a win-win situation. There's no losers. Even the credit card companies don't lose, because they just want more people to sign up for their credit cards. And you just use it judiciously. When the 18 months is up, you apply for more. And you just keep on going. You pay them off on time. You're never late with it. Keep your credit score up. And you just keep doing this rinse and repeat. Before you know it, you got 50 of these miners in your house, and you making
$300 a day, $400-$500
a day. But the point is that you're stacking up chips.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly.
So if someone says, look, man, Kyle, I got an order. I need to order 4 of those 4 units from you. What is your turnaround time? I know it's hard to get these GPUs, but if I say I want 4 of those units, 4 of the 4 units, would you be able to, crank those out for somebody like me?
Definitely. Yeah. So lately, right now, I've been able to get a computer done 1 a week. So I can, in about, I would say, give it a little bit of leeway with the semiconductor shortage. In about 2 months, I have all 4 ready for you. We would have.
But you could do 1 at a
2
time,
done,
though, right?
Yeah, exactly. 1 at a time. Exactly.
Yeah, so I can
we'll
I can start
2
right
done
away.
per
I have to
month,
wait
and we'll
for
be able
all
to start
4.
right away.
It's
Exactly.
like 1 every 2 weeks, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Because I get interesting people watching my show, and then on Facebook, you've seen my Facebook comments are lit.
Yeah, right.
I just want to make sure you be able to keep up with capacity and demand. And also, when I make my order, I don't want, Heru, your show got so many people ordering my stuff that I can't get a mining rig for you until next 6 months. I ain't having that. I need to be a priority. You understand what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Because I need that. I need that, because I want to just have it running in my house. I'm right now working on, there's a brother who I interviewed yesterday. He's a computer brother, and he's in New York area, and he has access to wholesale computer equipment.
Very nice.
Which I can, hook you up with him as well. But he's working right now on finding GPUs.
Yeah.
So when I get those, I'll be, coming over to you and, getting a training to put it together for myself. Because really, I'd like to have a GPU running in every bedroom in my house.
Right.
Exactly. A mining rig running in every single bedroom in my house, and just have it running. I have an office. My office space can fit. I'm looking at the rigs right now. I've seen your rigs. I could probably fit 10 of them in here in my office right now. So comfortably, with the noise, because it wasn't very noisy.
Not at all. Yeah, and you were right here in the living room with me. And you're like, oh, these aren't noisy at all. There's no heat coming off of these things. There's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of, we've heard it from investing. And when I started hearing about it in cryptocurrency, I just blew it off, because I knew I had to figure it out for myself. And I knew that these misconceptions and false notations about a lot of things exist. And so I just went head on and I figured it out on my own. And yeah, definitely.
And those units can run off of Wi-Fi. You don't need to have them connected to Ethernet, do you?
All of these units are Wi-Fi. So the only thing that's plugged into it is just the HDMI from the TV and power from the wall.
Will you need an HDMI to plug in? So you're going to need that to be able to run the programs and to see what's going on?
Yeah, in the same way that you would hook up any kind of exterior outsource to the TV, which would be like an Xbox or a PlayStation maybe, or
but you don't need the
computer.
You don't need the HDMI once you have everything set up.
Once you have everything, you would need an HDMI still to run graphics to the computer, to the TV that you'll be monitoring with.
That's if you want to monitor, but if you want to just let it run,
you could just unplug it. Yeah, you don't really
just
know.
let
You
it
don't
run,
have
and
to
you can let it mine. without
Yeah.
having to be hooked up. You just want to be hooked up if you want to see the visuals of certain
Exactly,
types of
of the
statistics
computer.
of what's actually
Exactly.
happening. But you don't need it to be hooked up to the screen. All you need
Yeah.
to be is that just basically plug and play and hook up to the Wi-Fi, and you're good to go, right?
Exactly. And everything I monitor, I can monitor from my phone. So,
Right.
you know, Michael could be watching TV on this TV all
Right.
day. I could be at the gym.
Right. And
If something were to happen,
you-
my phone would tell me, oh, such and such rig has been reduced in its computing speed. You can have
And
a
that
look
would
at
be
it.
part of also your service too, right? The
Yeah,
price
exactly.
of the rig is you being available for a phone call as to how to set up everything, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
We sold 10 of these in Q4, the last 3 months of the year. I basically didn't start selling them until late September or so. So we did put out 10, and all of them are within my tight netted network. They're able to get a hold of me quickly if they need me, and I'm able to see the backlog of their computers running. Like everything is on a public ledger. You're able to see the computer running publicly as well. So I'm able to keep up with everybody's computer, make sure everybody's computer stays on and running. If they do go down, I can always give them a call. Hey, did your computer go down, or did anything, and typically maybe the internet chipped out or something, and the computer will come right back on its own. You don't really have to touch or do anything. If the internet does go down, because randomly Comcast here in South Florida is a headache, and they do randomly, internet may go down, and the computer will recatch internet when it comes back on. So a lot of the computing process is self-diagnostic as well. The computer does a lot of that as well.
Excellent, man. I love it. I think that this is where we need to go. I think that you play a very important role into where we are and where we need to be, right? Like I said, this is something that I should have been involved in years ago. And right now I'm just constrained by being able to, track down some of these GPUs because really my interest was more the educational aspect. Not that I don't want to make money in mine, but I just think that the knowledge is actually more valuable than the mining rig itself. However, if it's going to take a while to get the pieces, it's better to start mining because you still get the knowledge of actually practically having it and doing it and then learning how to put it together afterwards. In other words, nothing should stop the progress of moving forward. So if I can't get the GPUs right now at the right prices that I would like, then the best thing to do is start mining.
Yep.
Right? Because I know what the payback time is.
Yeah,
10 months is 10 months. And then you start stacking up chips. So what I'm very excited to do is to be definitely a customer of yours and also a student. So, and I think that, you're very generous with your knowledge. Have you thought about having like a training type of section of your business where people can actually be trained in this type of stuff and they can pay you to teach them?
Yeah, I definitely would like to teach people how to build these computers from scratch. I haven't created any kind of educational specific to these yet, but it's a high potential that I will in the future, and or if the business grows big enough, I would be hiring those to help me
right. So it'll be
increase the productivity.
on the job
exactly.
training.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'll be able to pump these out. And it's a lot of fun. For me, it's very enjoyable coming from aviation and mechanics. I get the same sort of synapses from these rewards of creating these. So it kind of floats with my system quite well. So I really enjoy building these. And they all have their own look to them. They will all have their own kind of style to them. They all do come out looking different from one another. So it's very interesting. No one computer will be the same. There are a lot of different GPUs and different GPU manufacturers. They'll come in all different shapes and sizes and colors, and so it's definitely pretty unique.
Nice,
Definitely agree.
man. I think that this has been, a great opportunity for people to learn, man. I want you to, as we start to close out, or if there's any other things that you would like to touch on, whether it comes to investing, whether it comes to the mining and all of that, feel free to touch on whatever you want to touch on, man.
Yeah. Specifically with mining, I think one of the top things that I would like to touch on would be building up computing power, as far as just reinvesting in the concept. If you really do happen to fall in love with it, keep reinvesting in it, keep making it stronger over time, that your expectations will be met. Have realistic expectations as far as what this endeavor costs and the amount of income you can generate from it. I can always, for all my clients, I do like to talk to you on the phone. I want to understand what your expectations are, if they're out of whack or if they don't make sense and things like that, and really make sure that we all have an understanding as to what we're doing and what your expectations are from this endeavor, to make sure that I can meet all your objectives. Investing long term, especially new investors, don't try to time the market. Invest 3 to 5 years out ahead of you. Pay attention to the economic changes in the world. I think that's very important. Mostly fintech and semiconductors as far as sectors and industries to pay attention to. Fintech being Square and PayPal, and these kinds of payment sources are going to be adapting or adopting into the cryptocurrency space. So you will be seeing a lot of connectivity between these kinds of payment sources and cryptocurrency. It's going to be important to pay attention to that. And then semiconductors, and how the semiconductor is going to be the biggest revolutionary wave of technology advancement is going to participate in semiconductors, with electronic cars and everything that entails with the development of technology for electronic cars. Electric cars, yeah. Is all going to be coming out of semiconductors. So we have that we'll be paying attention to, and that'll be it.
You seen they have a new Tesla, a Tesla chip that they're using for GPUs, and it's like doing calculations, like is much more powerful than even the NVIDIA's. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at those, but and they're going for a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
Tesla chips, because they're AI based.
Oh,
And,
okay.
And so right now, if you go to like whattomine.com, that is the top GPU.
Oh, they have those units available. Yeah. I think it starts with an A series. It's like an A series.
It's crazy, but it's very expensive.
Very expensive. Yeah, very expensive.
Man, but it's supposed to be the #1 thing for GPU mining now. So I mean, it's something to look at. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
I do think that when we, once I get my mining rigs and start mining and having the real world, real-time information, we can have another one of these sessions, and we can have them, periodically, man, where we're catching people up, where we can actually go to the specific websites where you can do these types of calculations and kind of some of the tools of the trade after you start mining, what to look at, like whether you want to use NiceHash, which mining pools you want to use, because these are the places that end up paying you, sending your crypto to your own personal crypto wallet, and that's how you take your coins that you get from mining. It comes to your personal wallet. People don't understand some of those mechanics that are involved in mining, but there are different places that you can go to mine to try to get the best bang for your buck for your mining. And so that's a skill unto itself to know that type of information. The monitoring of your equipment remotely, that's a thing that's important too, because you literally can be on vacation while something's mining. And it's
Yep.
just printing money for you. You know, it's just
Yep.
running because it runs by itself. And you don't have to live in a house. You can live in an apartment building with GPU mining. You can live in an apartment because it's not loud. You won't disturb your neighbors or anything like that. You won't even disturb someone sleeping in the next room, in the same
You could be
apartment.
sleeping right here on the couch
Yeah,
and
you
not
won't
hear
be
anything
disturbed.
over them. Yeah,
So,
never disturbed.
It is a great thing to be involved in, man. I'm just glad that I know somebody personally who's deeply involved, hands-on, and building these things, man. You're a great resource to us. You're a great resource to the community, man. We're just happy that you're alive and doing what you're doing and using your brilliance, man. It's very inspiring, and may you be an example to other people of using your time wisely in a time of a pandemic to actually learn something that you didn't know before that changes your life and the lives of the future generations that come from you. So I just want to thank you, man.
I appreciate that,
for
man.
what
Thanks
you're
a lot.
doing. I will be placing an order very soon. And, you know, you mess around, I'm placing an order for a rig every month.
Yeah, right.
I'm actually, I'm very serious. Very
Mhm.
serious. I want to put my own GPU mining rigs together. I'm going to be doing ASICs. So I'm turning the shed in my backyard into an ASIC mining unit. But the GPU, that's going to, you know, I have to retrofit the shed in terms of 240 volts because they're very power hungry, the ASICs. But with the GPUs, you can run them on 110 volts.
Yep.
So you can just plug it right into your wall, and you're good to go. So I am going to be hollering at you in many different ways, and I expect an uptick in your business, bro.
Oh, I appreciate it. And you know,
Yeah,
I'm
man.
ready to work hard. You know, I am. You know that
Yes,
you've always
I
known
know
that about
that.
me. I'll work the late nights
Yeah,
and I
man.
put in the work. So
I
I'm
love that,
definitely
man.
there. Honored,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Absolute blessing. Honored.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being on the show, man. Let's do
Appreciate
this
it.
some more. All right.
You got it.
All right. Let's give your contact information.
Sure.
You
Yeah.
can
You
even
can find
give
me.
your phone number too if you
Yeah,
want for
definitely.
your business, all of that. So
Sure. You can.
everyone just
Yeah, you could find me on
take your notes
Facebook.
right now.
Right? Your notebooks.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook, Kyle, Kyle, Tilton, Tilton. And you can find me on my Twitter handle at Twitter at Tilton Kai. That's TILTONKY. You can find me on Instagram at Tilton Kai as well. So that's how you could reach me. And my telephone number, if you do want to just give me a call, my business line is 954-647-4486. Just give me a call and introduce yourself and, you know, say you want to have a chat about the rigs.
Say your phone number again.
Sure. 954-647-4486.
Right. And are you on WhatsApp as well?
Yeah, I'm on WhatsApp as well.
Yeah. So that's probably the best way to reach you is text WhatsApp. And then you just get back to people from anywhere in the world because, like I said, I have an international listener. So if you just give them a US number, they want to know if you're on WhatsApp or even Signal so that they'll be able to text you if they're living in Accra, Ghana, if they're living in Dar es Salaam, because you'll be able to still ship it out to people. Of course, they're going to have to pay for their shipping costs, but you'll be able to ship out the units.
Definitely.
So I think WhatsApp probably would be the best way to reach you. And just say your number one more time, your phone number.
Yep. That'll be 954-647-4486.
Yes, and for those out of the country, you just add +1 for United States at the beginning of his phone number. So yeah, man, we've reached Kyle. We've gotten a whole lot of information, man, and we look forward to doing business with Kyle and learning much more from Kyle with the great work that he's doing, you know. So it's an honor to know you, man, and we'll be following up. All right.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
You guys
man.
have a good night. Take care.
All right. Peace.